Welcome to the Camera Dude Podcast, where we focus our lens on business. We will cover the art of business and everything in between. Join your host, Rob Moorman, a seasoned photographer and RV park owner with over 27 years of experience, as he captures insights from industry experts and fellow entrepreneurs. From mastering customer service to igniting creativity, we explore the common threads that weave through successful businesses. Get ready to click, snap, and discover on the Camera Dude Podcast.
Welcome to the Camera Dude Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Moorman, professional photographer, entrepreneur, and friendly camera dude. We dive into real conversations about business and life with people who are passionate about their craft and purpose. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome a talented artist and creative spirit and one of our clients at Moorman Photographics, Samantha Dormio.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. I'm glad you're here. Did I say your last name properly?
Yes, you're one of the few who do.
All right. Well, my last name's Moorman, so you know what I get from that. I think in high school, the mean kids, I was a moron instead of Moorman, and
it was that. Domino, Dormino. Yeah, the list goes on.
Domino. That's kind of fun. All right. So that's awesome. Well, tell us about yourself. My guests, I love them to death, our listeners, and I'm so glad they're here. But if they don't know who are you?
I am a watercolor artist, and I typically focus on wildlife in my art, in the art that I do. And what I've been really leaning into lately is advocacy for wildlife conservation.
Awesome.
And there's a big story that goes along with that, but I have been focusing on Florida native wildlife recently in the last about year and a half, which I'm so happy to be doing. But I'm not a Florida native myself. I've lived in 7 different states.
Oh, wow.
For different jobs, schooling, whatever it is. So I've explored a lot of the country, and I'm so happy that I was able to do that. I have a mom and a dad and a sister. We grew up in Virginia.
Oh, wow.
So it's just outside of D.C., and there really wasn't a lot of opportunities to explore nature out there, which is one of the reasons I left.
I got you. Well, it's a pretty busy place. It can be.
Now, especially it is. Yeah.
I would imagine it is. So you have a business, and you've made painting your full-time passion.
Yes.
So what's the name of your business?
My business is Wild Planet Creations. The genesis of this really came from just a long life of dipping my toes into different flavors of wildlife conservation. I got my master's degree in ecology and evolutionary biology.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Cool.
And
Smarty.
Well, maybe. I don't know. But I got into research. I worked as an intern for a big cat sanctuary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did a lot of work for the United States Forest Service. I worked in Michigan, the Upper Peninsula for them, which was insane. I do everything, or I used to do everything from native tree planting to invasive species removal, and almost kind of like implementing what like a doctor prescribing to a patient. We used to write prescriptions for thousands of acres of forest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Well, I'll have to have you come up sometime. We own, my listeners know, I own 2 businesses in 2 different worlds. So Moorman Photographics, we're celebrating our 30th year, but we also inherited Sunburst RV Resort 11 years ago. So in the panhandle of Florida, out 20 miles north of I-10 is this RV park in the middle of nowhere. But I have some invasive bamboo growing, and it is mean, hard stuff to get rid of. And I know it doesn't belong there, but I can't seem to get rid of it now that it's there.
Grows fast, reproduce quickly. Yes,
it's
tough.
It's taking over. It's beautiful, actually, to see it grow. It's absolutely a gorgeous plant, but the fact that it walks and grows so fast and just doesn't belong here. So it's, something that's hurting the native plant and fauna on our property because it's a wooded property.
Right. There's almost like a different classification for invasives. Some of them don't affect native plant or animal communities at all, even though they typically aren't necessarily from a particular area.
Didn't know that.
But some of them, they're like class 1. Like they're the ones that really start to outcompete what native flora and fauna.
I would guess that this bamboo is in that class, I would think.
I'll have to double check. Florida's probably different than maybe like Virginia or anything like that. Yeah.
They say the best way is to burn it, but the problem is there's RVs and mobile homes and it's around all of that, so I can't. So I just keep fighting it the whole time. Well, conservation is good. For years, I did conservation with water because I'm a scuba diver and spent a lot of time through Professional Association of Dive Instructors. They hold all these conservation events. But what I'm seeing now is some folks that are growing coral and replanting it down at Keys. Mm-hmm. So I think a quick vacation for me would be to go diving and plant some coral. I'm just so excited about it.
That would be absolutely amazing.
Because I've seen from temperature change or whatever it's from. I'm not a scientist. I just see the difference. And the coral, when I got certified in the 90s, was gorgeous in the Upper Keys. And I still say go to the Keys, but at the same token, the difference from the photos I took back then to what I see now, it's complete devastation, actually.
Yes.
And that scares me. So I'm glad that you're taking part in that. And also planting trees is a good thing that helps this problem. So
I don't think you're alone in that experience of really witnessing within a single lifetime a lot of changes that are human induced, and especially the state of Florida, whether it's aquatic or on land. There's been a lot of change in recent years.
I always feel we're going in a fun direction, and then we'll jump into questions. I always feel that it's not that somebody gets out of bed and says, oh, the heck with the environment. I think someone makes a good idea, like manufacturing. They come up with a product, but the aftermath of it, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, now we have this. What do we do? I don't think they woke up in the morning and said, forget the environment and trash it. But the problem is providing all these jobs. It's such a tricky path to lead down to push for change and allow people to still have careers or whatever. You see what I mean?
I do. Yeah, absolutely.
What can we do with that company, or what product that they can use so we don't have this waste product afterwards or whatever it is? And it's tough. It really is.
It's a tough thing to navigate.
So we're here, not for the environment, although that is a big part of my life. The idea is to talk about your business and your art and how did you get here. Where'd you go to school?
I got my biology degree up in New Hampshire, actually. So that was a little adventure right outside of high school. And right afterwards, I started my graduate degree in North Carolina at East Carolina University.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So you are smarty. I could tell right away.
Oh,
and for those listening, I recommend going to your work. You have a website, right? What is your website?
It's wildplanetcreations.com.
Boom.
Plain and simple.
There it is. And they can reach you through the site if someone needs to purchase work or whatever. I have seen the work firsthand, photographed it for you so that you would have images to help promote what you do. And it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're a good artist, which is why we asked you here. So that's a good thing. Let's go into questions. How would you describe your artistic style in your own words, and how has it evolved since you first started painting?
This is a fun question. Okay, so my first introduction to watercolor specifically was when I was really little. My grandmother is actually incredibly artistic, and I'm so grateful to have one of her original paintings from 1971 hanging in my home.
That's cool.
It's awesome. So she made sure to give me some really high quality paper, paints, and brushes when I was like 4. And I didn't know it was a big deal at the time. I was just having fun with colors, but she was glowing, just feeling like she contributed. And I didn't really see watercolor again until high school, taking just some generic art courses. And that's when I realized I didn't like it at all.
I love it.
Right.
Okay.
I was like, oh, you have to have patience for this? Like, that's not me. No, not me in high school.
Forget it.
Yeah.
I'm out.
The layering, that I was overworking paintings. I was making them muddy. I was like, nope, I'm going to be a graphite pencil, colored pencil person because I love detail. And the techniques they were teaching in high school were just flowy, fast, lay down the color, let it dry kind of thing. And I'm like, that's okay. And that was actually solidified in college. I took one course in college. I had intended to minor in art, and they completely just snuffed out my creative flame. And it was really sad.
It happens a lot where we sell out, and it's not intentional. I do a lot of commercial work. It's not that creative, but it pays the bills. So
Yeah,
I get how that can happen in someone's life easily.
absolutely. But I did go the science route, and I'm so happy that I did, because that is now what drives what I do. The combination of my experience in wildlife conservation and the sciences is what drives the stories that I tell through my art.
I love that.
It's that mission that really pushes my work. And then once I figured out that it is possible to get a high level of detail, that's when I was like, okay, we're solidifying this watercolor journey. And it really has been a journey.
And that's where you found yourself as an artist in a way. And obviously we grow no matter what. I'm still growing. I've been in business 30 years as a photographer, and I still see and find new things that inspire me to either make change in what I do or just dive deep into what I'm already doing. It's just that inspiration that goes. We're going to the Imaging USA convention in Nashville coming up, and I will be in every seminar I can get my hands on to see who's doing what and how, and get that inspiration from all that work. So that's a good thing.
That's awesome.
Well, tell me this. I'm going to skip a couple of questions here and just ask this because I know you can answer it. So you have taken your art full time.
Yep.
What I've found being in the realm of art, I'm kind of on the outside edges of it. I'm not, it's photography, but nonetheless, the creative outlook and the compositional rules and all that are very similar. So what I would like to know is, how have you taken this to a business? And tell us a story, if you will. I mean, all businesses have successes, but we also have failures that we've learned from. And I think my listeners love to hear this education through conversation, if you will. So tell us, what did you do? What made you say, okay, I'm doing this and nothing else, and I'm rowing this boat upstream no matter what?
Yes. So kind of like I mentioned, I have dipped my toes into so many different versions of what someone would consider a career in wildlife conservation.
Cool.
And there was a similar theme through them, and that was isolation. I was not reaching an audience, and I felt like all I really wanted to do was to give a voice to the voiceless, to our habitat and its creatures that live among our backyard. And I just felt like I wasn't capable of doing that. Or when I was doing an outreach program, it was tailored to how somebody else told me what to do and how to do it. So with artwork, the longevity and the magic behind how art can even be interpreted is just phenomenal in and of itself.
It is.
So I just was like, okay, something's got to change here. And I didn't even know what that was until one day I started doing what's called bullet journaling. Have you ever heard of that before?
No, tell us.
So it is a journal with paper that instead of having lines, they're little dots. And you can use those dots to do anything you want. And what I did was create my own, almost like a planner or an agenda.
Okay.
And it had monthly spreads, weekly spreads, habit trackers, behavioral trackers, all that stuff.
Wow.
It was so cool.
Okay.
But I started doing monthly themes, and I started doing like animals. Each month it would be like a different theme. And I used watercolor to get into that. Started sharing on social media.
We can stop recording.
Yeah.
You just gave a nugget for everybody, including me. I think that Moorman Photographics is going to do bullet journaling because I need that creativity. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
I have friends that shoot photograph for themselves all the time and art, and I find myself caught up in doing all this work I do for everybody else, and then I don't go out and remember the passion that I had or what I do or have for what we do. So bullet journaling. All right, tell me more.
Oh, and I will interject too. Having a creative outlet is so crucial for just even mental health and being a human being. It's not talked about enough.
Right.
We can talk about that a little bit later. But anyways, I began sharing my bullet journal spreads on Instagram and Facebook. And back in it was late 2019, early 2020, so right before COVID. And people were very interested, and they started asking me to paint for them. And it really just was like a snowball rolling down a mountain, getting larger and larger. Couldn't stop it if I tried.
Wow. I love that. Well, and forgive me, I'm going to follow you on Instagram. I don't know why I don't. My bad.
Okay. Instagram is one of those weird things right now where it's like amazing and then terrible all at the same time.
All at the same time. Because I'm older, all my tribe was built on Facebook because it was, it's been around longer. And it was so big that I did go over to Instagram, but I never jumped ship because I didn't want to leave that whole tribe and try to rebuild it again on another platform and do all of that. So I'm in both, which is time consuming, by the way.
It is.
So what is your Instagram?
It's Wild Planet Creations. I got really lucky with that one.
Yes, so it was available even.
It was.
Okay, very good. I just wanted our listeners to know because it's definitely worth following, especially after that nugget. They're going to go back and look for the bullet journal posts.
Yes, and they are back there. You just have to scroll back a little bit.
Yeah, maybe you should post some more. Like, where are you with it now? Maybe do a whole new thing.
Here's the really unfortunate thing. I have stopped making them.
You have?
It actually takes a lot of time to create even like a weekly spread. It takes about maybe 1 to 2 hours. And with all of the work that I have, and I'm sure you know too how it is to run a business, it never ends.
So I would say that was part of your process then to launch to where you're at now.
Yes.
And now that you're here, it's not as much of a necessity.
Exactly.
So somebody getting just started, maybe they're at a small business and it's in the Kickstarter stages, startup of some sort, or maybe they want to refresh, which would be us. We've been in business forever.
Yeah.
What's next? So I'd start bullet journaling. Okay.
Yes. I think if somebody is really getting into this field, it's so important to do 2 things. One is to figure out what you actually want to do, not what you think other people want from you.
That's so hard.
Oh, it's so hard. But that's the beauty of creating something that you're not intending to sell. You're not really even intending to show. It's just for you. Whether it's like a 15-minute little art exercise every day, it's whatever your hands create, that's from you and yourself.
I love that. Okay.
And then the other thing is to find a community. Yeah. Support is so important in a job that's very isolating. When you're in your studio all day long, oh my gosh, even if you're an introvert, it can be tough.
It can, because you need that. So locally, are you in any artist associations or statewide that you can share with anybody?
I am. Actually, I'm involved in a lot of things online. So
that's good.
Yeah, through Instagram, it's actually been really cool. I found a lot of like-minded artists that also use their work to advocate for wildlife. And I've met a lot of people in the area. So meeting face-to-face, the genesis of that was Instagram, which is really cool.
I love that. All right, wasn't sure. I do online as well. I'm in a group called Florida Photographers on Facebook, I think. And there's a couple of others that I'm in, commercial photographers, and then there's art, and I follow some landscape photographers that do absolutely incredible work, travel around the world and come back with these images that are just stunning. Get up before everybody else is up and get out there and do, when the sun is coming up and all of that beautiful stuff. But I, in person, am part of the Tampa Area Professional Photo Association and 3 others. My listeners have heard them 100 times, so I won't go over all of them. But I get on fire from that as well because I'm a people person. I just am. So I want to just bump shoulders, and every once in a while I'll text another photographer something silly just to start a conversation, and, what are you using to do this with? And, whatever. So that's good to know that you're doing that. So tell us a little more. So you've got your art, you've made it a business, which means, to be a business, you have to do all those legal things to say you're a business. So you have that. Tell us just a hint of that for our listeners.
There's a lot of different ways you can take your business, and it kind of depends on how you want to format yourself. Do you want to sell merchandise? Do you want to be a fine artist? Even that kind of route. Do you want to hire people eventually, or do you just want to stay by yourself? There's a lot to think about, and it can be hard when you're just starting out. There's so many different opportunities and choices to make. What I did in the beginning was I actually became an LLC in Virginia.
Perfect.
And I decided when I moved to Florida that I didn't want to maintain that. So I'm a sole proprietor right now, and I just have my own insurance that's external.
So you said that. I think artists in general, not just photographers, but being someone that has taught photography a lot, I would teach at the Moorman Art Center here in St. Petersburg for a long time. And in the classroom, about 15 to 20 people taking a class. You would have grandma and grandpa want to go on vacation, but they wanted to use a classic camera and they didn't understand f-stop, shutter speeds, or whatever. And then you had somebody that maybe their job is working at an electric company, but it involved photography in that job. And then somebody like myself that's going to go full time. And I would separate them and make them sit because I would teach them differently, even though we were all in the same room. And I would focus a little more on how to go pro. But what I find is people fall in love with art.
Yeah.
And so as a photographer, you take your neighbor's kids' photos. Oh, you're so good. And then they tell somebody and they tell somebody. Next thing you know, you're operating a business, but it's not actually legal anymore.
Yes.
So we used to do a campaign called Get Legal, and that was you get your fictitious name, you get your LLC or sole proprietorship, whatever, and a tax ID number with Uncle Sam. And then, okay, wait a minute. If you take these kids out to the beach and you pose them on rocks to take a portrait and somebody falls down, whose insurance is covering that? So you better get insurance. So it's still a business, and I'm 100% positive that that's why you've made it successful, because you treat it as a business.
Yes.
It is art and you are being creative, but now that it's painted, it's a product.
Exactly.
And it has to go somewhere and into someone's home or a lobby of a beautiful hotel or wherever, your own gallery. I hope to see that you have your own big gallery on Duval Street in Key West somewhere.
Ooh,
or a big city. I don't know where. I'm just a Key West fan. So I
love it.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. Let's read something right here. Your Canvas Rebel interview mentioned that art becomes a form of therapy for you. Can you tell us more about that? You started on that a little bit. Let's talk about the emotional side of art.
Okay, so what I was kind of talking about was that I really needed that way to connect to a big group or community of people to really bring them back to the core of nature, even if that's just all it is, regardless of wildlife conservation topics, right?
Okay.
So what I find therapeutic about what I'm doing now is knowing that I get to not only grow this community of awesome, like-minded people who want to make a really cool difference together, but I'm also connecting with nonprofit organizations, and I'm able to donate to them through 10% of all the profits that I make on my print sales, my original sales, and all of the products that I make with my art.
I love that.
Yeah.
About your story. That's so cool. We do similar. I don't give them a percentage. What I do is I donate my time, photograph their galas. They might spend $2,000 on a photographer. I'm going to come in and do it for free. And what I found is most of the people attending are my clients anyway. So it's really PR for me.
Yep.
But that's not why I started doing it. And I got there, and now we've been doing it for years, but I get there and I'm like, oh, this is good for the business too.
Yeah.
So it goes all the way around. But whatever the cause is, that $2,000 can go towards their cause and not towards, having to put it out to the overhead of holding the gala. So it cuts down their overhead a little bit, and it works well. That's so cool. I'm glad you do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And there's so many causes when it comes to the environment. I don't know where to start.
It's a lot. I think the one thing that I do is I make sure I follow the money before I donate anything, because there are some fraudulent nonprofits out there. Okay. You just have to be careful, and it's even better when you're in communication with them and maybe doing a partnership in the future, which I have a few lined up. I can't mention them now, but I can talk about ones I have done, and they've been incredible.
That's a big tip, by the way. And so without knocking any of the others, I guess, just tell us one that's near to your heart.
Sure. The last year and a half, I've been working with a nonprofit here in Tampa called the Raptor Center of Tampa Bay.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys have actually been photographing those paintings. We're illustrating a book. It's actually about 14 different animals and the human-induced challenges that they face here in Florida today.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a really powerful story. And the genesis of that story for them was a puppet show that was extremely successful. So they thought, how can we get this in the hands of more people and have even a stronger sphere of impact? And that was through a book.
Yay, and through you. But
Yeah.
that's important.
We found each other so serendipitously, too. It was at a Florida Birding and Nature Festival, and they were right behind me with their ambassador birds, and I'm just staring at them with, like, my sparkling eyes as if they're heroes that I just met in person.
They are heroes.
Yeah.
And of course, if you think differently here, I never do politics or religion. But when I look at the environment and I see the symbiotic nature of all of it, I can't stop but think about a creator for me. But either way, even if somebody else sees it differently, the end result is that we're protecting these resources that we have for future generations to use and see and be a part of, and hopefully be good stewards as well.
Yeah.
But having lived through it, you hear these stories, 59 years on Earth and back in the 70s, and it's the same story. Nobody got out of bed and said, oh, we're just going to dump all this in the river.
You're right.
They were probably told it was okay.
Yes, you're absolutely right. A lot of decisions get made based on short term, this is a choice that's right in front of me. I'm going to pick A instead of B. And the repercussions have not been studied yet. No. That's just the way it is. Yep. And even with organizations that have been around for seemingly very positive things, even though it's a government organization, I hope they don't get mad at me for saying this, but I worked for them. The Forest Service sometimes chases their proverbial tail. Historically, they'll do things that they thought were good, and then now we're fixing that.
So they're learning, hopefully, from mistakes.
Exactly.
So they wouldn't get mad at you for that, because we all do that.
Right.
Even in running our business.
We all learn.
I marketed a certain way, and I was like, okay, that's probably was a waste of money. Let's put that somewhere else. And it's like,
exactly.
Yeah, we do all learn, and their hearts are in the right place.
Yes.
So we hold that for sure
to
them. Let's see. Let's talk about a question here. What are some of the challenges you think that a new artist today would face?
Well, there's quite a few. I think it depends on the type of artist you are. A lot of times people have a choice, like I said, if they want to sell original artwork and start getting into galleries and get into fine art shows or do even auctions. There's so many different avenues to take with that. And I think with that avenue, in-person events is really key. You've got to meet people face to face, find out areas that have your target audience. That's so important.
That's a huge, pardon me, I can't speak today. A huge theme on Camera Dude podcast is in person. Yes. We're always looking in person for networking. Mm-hmm. So basically, in order to align yourself up, you're networking with all the gallery owners in the area, all the other artists in the area, interior decorators that may be hanging your work somewhere or whatever. Moorman Photo was built on relationships. Yeah. Just doing what we're doing right here, hanging out, talking about business. And I've asked longtime clients who've brought their kids here for years, and they said their kids are heading off to college now. That's how long I've been in business. And now we have a new generation of kids coming in and all.
Awesome.
And it's amazing to me, but she goes, well, you're a family photographer. I wouldn't go anywhere else, because it's relationship marketing that I built this business on. And I used to teach relationship marketing. I've probably said this on my podcast 100 times, but you have to actually care. Yeah. You're not building a relationship just to get something.
Right.
My clients could call me any time of day, and if they needed something, I'm on my way. What do you need? Because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. And so the love is mutual. It really is.
Yes.
And even if I retired, there's some of them that I would keep in touch with. No question about it. It's like, hey, what are you guys doing? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a special thing when somebody finds the magic in your work and recognizes that and moves forward on that. And automatically that relationship is so strong, even just from right there. You know that, they support you just by looking at what you do.
I love that. And that was the key. And I follow their family on social media, and I when their kids are getting a win, I'm like on the sidelines cheering. I'm like, yeah, you go, and it's so cool to see what they're doing in college, and some of them are back already and making families and hitting their careers and all of that. So that's really, really a cool thing. All right, so I want to get a quick message from our sponsor.
Moorman Photographics, where every click captures the essence of life's most precious moments. Our studio stands as a beacon of creativity and professionalism, offering a myriad of services tailored to your every photographic need. Whether you seek a studio portrait or the allure of on-location sessions in the Tampa and St. Petersburg waterfronts or lush parks, we bring your vision to life with creativity and professionalism. Corporate headshots, we excel at those too, providing impeccable quality whether in the studio or at your corporate headquarters. Need portraits for a large team or event? We orchestrate seamless setups for groups or individuals. But our expertise doesn't stop there. From high-end school portraits to photo restoration, from pet portraits to product images, our portfolio spans the spectrum of photographic artistry. Led by professionals with degrees in both photography and fine art, our team is dedicated to exceeding your expectations with every frame. Step into our studio where creativity knows no bounds. Contact us to book your session today at moormanphoto.com.
So tell us another situation in art. So you've gone commercial with this, but it's still art. Give us a little bit of how you balance that. You have to be able to love both the craft that you do, but you have to fall in love with business too.
I actually was really lucky this year. I was accepted into a small business uplifting program.
Oh, cool.
And it came with some grant money too, which was amazing.
Okay, where do I sign up?
Right. Yeah, they were so cool. It was an 8-week long course that I got to take, and I got to learn how to think better as a small business owner. And I think programs like that are so amazing. I really highly recommend looking into things like that if you're just starting out, because my ADHD brain, it doesn't sometimes let me focus on what needs to be focused on in the moment. And I navigate that the best way I can. And that's okay. Sometimes I hyperfixate on painting and I forget to do my email newsletter. It happens. We've got to give ourselves some grace. We can't be perfect.
Yeah, that is definitely me. So this is not even in my notes, but I have ADHD. My listeners know I talk about it all the time. I've surrounded myself with really strong, hyper-focused people that just know how to do stuff. And me, I have 10,000 ideas coming at me all the time. This podcast alone, someone said you need a podcast, and I jumped in with both feet. I didn't have a logo. I didn't have a theme. I didn't have a direction, but I just started recording. I was like, hey, this person's interesting. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And here we are. So sometimes ADHD can be great.
Agreed.
What are you doing to navigate that? And for those that are like us, to kind of keep it in check? Obviously, sometimes we slip into it, but what are you doing most?
Well, it's kind of a nod to the bullet journaling that I was doing. I now have planners on planners. I write it all down. I have to check my stuff off the list. And if I kind of get a little diverted, or sometimes even just scrolling social media can consume you for a little bit too long. And it's nice to be able to have that physical thing written down, or even notes on my phone that says, hey, you actually have to do this today. You don't want to be awake until 1 a.m.
Right.
Again.
Okay. Thank you. Because I'm guilty. I used to make what was a phone list, but now it's a list with several columns. If I had it here, I'd show you. And so how did this person contact me? Was it phone, email, messenger? Because now there's a million avenues. I get overwhelmed with ADHD. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I write down, and that's how I communicate to that client. Did they text me? Did they text me on the studio digital line? Or sometimes they have my cell phone. How did I find them? What did they want? The date they contacted me. And I also add in those phone calls to do things.
Smart.
Right underneath it. So, because the phone call is a to-do. I say phone call, that's my old brain. Communication, however they reached out to me in this modern world. But having said that, whatever it is, I need to respond to that in a timely fashion, or I'm going to lose those clients and all of those things. So I struggle with that, but that list helps me, and it's handwritten.
Yes. Oh, that's so important.
I don't know why, but it just has to be handwritten for me. And when I get off track, I'm like, okay, get off the phone and get your list.
Yep.
And I look at the list, and then I put on some focus music that I listen to, and that helps. And then I lock in and do what I got to do. So I don't know if you do that. Obviously, you're journaling, and I'm trying to combat it all naturally. I don't want to take anything. I don't. I consider
you on that.
Yeah, I considered it, but I have tried it in my youth, and I didn't like who it made me. I wasn't an evil person. I just was a lump in a chair.
Right.
So
It's
now
kind of boring having a brain that only thinks about one thing at one time.
it's
Right?
not when you've seen Paris like we have, right? We see it all. My wife is very focused, and opposites attract. We'll be in the car driving. I'm like, look at that, look at that, look at that.
Yep.
And she's just reading. I'm like, you're missing. The whole world is going by. What? Yeah.
I was telling my husband one time we were sitting in the middle of a sports bar and every single TV surrounding us had a different channel on with the volume up. And I said, hey, this is how my brain is a lot of the time.
Perfect.
Yes.
I love that. All right.
So
Yeah, thank you.
neurotypical brain can understand.
Yeah, and that is me. But people would also ask me, maybe at a wedding reception, which to my listeners, I don't photograph weddings anymore. We do a ton of corporate events. I did 500 weddings. It wasn't a bad deal. I just needed some Saturdays back in my life. And I was like, okay, it's time. So I passed that on to another photographer and said, here's a bunch of clients. Keep it going.
Awesome.
And but we're still behind the camera every day. So that's a good thing. All right, let's ask a question here, because I've gotten ADHD and forgot where we were at. All right, let's see. Many artists struggle with imposter syndrome, which, have you ever faced that where you're comparing yourself to someone else's work and all that stuff that we all as creatives struggle with?
So I don't know if imposter syndrome is specific to artists. I think somebody who has ADHD, now that we're back on that again, but I think that's kind of a symptom of that as well. And it's something that I faced in many categories in my life, but I've also met incredible artists that do amazing things that don't have it at all. It really just depends on the person. And if you do have imposter syndrome, for me, it's really easy to get consumed by the comparison. And you just have to remember that most of the time what you're looking at is somebody's highlight reel. It's not the reality. You don't know what went on behind the scenes, and you don't know how many years they put in to get to where they are now.
You know what? That's another, we could close the podcast now and be done.
Yeah.
You don't know how many years they've put in or what the struggles were, even if it was quick.
Exactly.
I will say with today, AI and the online capabilities and all, I could have started my business and amped it up in maybe 4 years. It took me 8 years to get this off the ground.
Yeah.
I rode that boat upstream, and I got up in the morning, worked from home at the time, and walked into the bedroom, and I just started emailing people and calling people out of the blue. And I went to every networking event in this town, no matter where it was. As long as I wasn't actually photographing, I was networking. And that's how we built it.
That's awesome.
And I was born here, so I have to say I had some deep roots. And so that helped. A lot of people say, how do you get so involved? And I was like, well, go through all the things I've been a part of in my life and still am some of them. It's those community of people that built up my tribe.
Yes.
So that's
absolutely.
Awesome. Tell us about your tribe a little bit. So do you teach? Do you have followers, people that are learning from you?
It's funny you say that. About once every fine art show that I attend, there's always somebody who's asking me if I teach. And I do have a teaching background, but that was biology, not art. Okay. And I get a little bit of art fear when I'm painting live in front of people.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, even filming. It's almost like I'm very aware that something is watching, and sometimes, you can be as technical as you want with your process, but sometimes you just got to go for it. And that can be hard to just dive into the hyperfixation of painting when people are watching.
Right.
So,
well, if you ever decide you want to, I've found I loved teaching. Another photographer who worked for me taught at the Dunedin Fine Arts Center years ago. And he says, you need to teach. You have all of this information. It's easy. And so I went and watched him teach a few times, and then we co-taught for a while. And then he moved away, and I had the classes myself. So if he's ever listening, his name is Michael, and Michael Caristo. And so he was a really good teacher and a phenomenally creative photographer. He's a good guy. I'm not picking on you, Mike, but when you saw him, you wouldn't think he was creative. But man, the photos he would come up with, and the ideas and concepts and the ability to capture things and all of that were incredible.
That's such a cool way too to get introduced into that. A lot of the time with teaching, they're just like, hey, you're thrown into the deep end. Yeah. You just got to hope you're doing a good job.
Well, I have about 13 folding chairs, and they fit in my little space. If you decide you want to do a class, maybe we'll collaborate and do something at Moorman Photo where you teach. And for me, it's exposure. people coming to my studio that haven't been here before. And for you, you get to feed your tribe a little bit and also push your art.
Yeah.
And we can light up social media and, get a little exposure for both.
That would be fun. I think that's a great way to get the toes wet with teaching artwork.
All right, let us know. Because I'm really open to that. We'll do it not now because holiday season is at least at time of this recording. And then maybe, summer-ish.
Sure.
People are off. Kids are off.
I'm kind of off, too. I don't dare do a fine art show in the Florida summer heat.
You're right about that. It's too hot.
Yes.
So very cool. Well, let's go into another question. Let's see. How do you balance your creative drive with everyday life? So basically, we'll sum that up. And I've talked about this before with a national speaker, actually, who I was graced with the blessings of having on our podcast, work-life balance. It's so hard, especially when you're an artist, because in some ways you're keeping your own hours, kind of.
Right. So for an example, it's a stark contrast between my husband, for example, is a nurse in the ICU. Cool. He works 3 days a week, 12-hour shifts. And when he comes home, he doesn't have to work at all. Nothing is on his brain that has to do with work. And I get very jealous of that sometimes because as an artist, it doesn't turn off. It's 24/7.
Yes.
I'm sure you can attest to that.
Yes.
It's because you love it too. You want it to be successful and to grow. And that honestly is really all up to you at the end of the day.
I've always said, people, because I'm 59 now, when are you going to retire? But I love what I do. It's not a career where I clock in, clock out, and one day I clear out my desk and they give me a little cake and then we go home.
Right.
And I work in the garden. For me, it's been my life and a passion that I chased after. And I had no idea that when I got here, that it would be so hard to just go, let's have a big estate sale, empty the studio out and go camping. I love the idea, except I want my cake and eat it too, literally. I don't want to leave what I do.
Right.
So, and I had no idea that it would be that kind of struggle. So now the truth is out. And that's the battle in my ADHD head now about getting out. I'm not trying to at the moment, by the way, but I am, obviously you see light at the tunnel and it's like, when do I make I don't want to. Can I just do this, but maybe less?
Right.
Yeah.
Because you still have your own life to live. And for me in particular, what I like to do outside of artwork is like hiking. I'm kind of a nerd. I love birding. So I always have binoculars in my car.
It's nerdy.
And then, stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking, just exploring. My issue becomes that does tie into my message with my artwork. And what I tend to think about is how can I bring this into showing people like, hey, like this is my life behind the scenes. And suddenly I'm working on my days off when I'm trying to enjoy.
Yeah.
And that can be a hard balance to find because it is important to communicate with your audience. And these are people that you care about, who care about you, and they connect with you on the things that you enjoy because they enjoy them too.
And most people with our brains thrive on the people around us.
Yes.
I just do. My wife wants to go home, be quiet. And just as a side note, when we first got married and were dating and all, we'd go to a party. I didn't know people. And I left with 100 friends, and she would sit quietly on the side of the couch. And then on the way home, she would be mad. And it was never intentional. I'm just doing me. I'm just, hey, this room full of cool people. I want to find out about all these people or whatever. A lot of that's rubbed off. She's not like that now after 29 years, I think, 28 years, 29.
Good amount of time.
Yeah, a long time. And she's also taught me to bring it down sometimes. She'll pull me on the sleeve and it's like, okay, stop. I'm like, oh, sorry. So it's good to know that. Well, that's awesome. The Lindsay Vestola was on. That's the national speaker motivator. And we talked about work-life balance. And that's what hit me when I heard her speak at last year's Imaging USA. It just hit me. I said, I got to have this on my podcast. Because some people wear work-life balance like it's fashionable. And they have to do it for their friends to like them. Other people do it to the detriment of their business, and other people don't do it enough, and it's to the detriment of their life, their marriage, or whatever.
Yeah.
And she said something to me. She goes, work-life balance doesn't actually exist. And she goes, here's what it is if you're an entrepreneur, it's a lifestyle. And yes, you can walk away from it and take your vacations, but sometimes on vacations, I have to answer emails. I have to talk with our office manager while we're off somewhere having a good time. We like to kayak and dive and do all that as well.
Yeah.
So, but occasionally it's a big gig. And if it's a client that's been coming here for 20 of the 30 years, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and talk to them.
Yes.
So I don't want to lose them.
Exactly.
And if I don't do it, who is? Right? Because it's a small business. So it is a lifestyle, and you have to fall in love with entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And don't beat yourself up because, oh, I made a mistake. I did some work on my vacation, and now you have all this going on in your head. No, it's your business, and you took care of what you needed to because the business takes care of you.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I've learned from her, and I was clapping and applauding the whole time.
Yes. I love that.
Sick of that. The Dr. Seuss animal, the push me, pull you. Have you seen them?
Yes.
That's what's going on in your head between work-life balance. And she was like, stop. That's not how it is. That's not reality.
Yes.
That's something that society has put out there and is forcing you to feel guilty about all the time. But you also feel guilty if you're not home enough.
Right.
So she goes, it's a lifestyle.
I think the magic is in the mindset that you have going into it too.
Nice.
If you go into it thinking like, oh, I don't want to work at all while I'm out, kayaking or whatever, then all of a sudden you're upset when you feel like, I have to do that in order to fulfill XYZ. But if you think of it as an opportunity to do both things that you love at the same time with the people that you love at the same time, that changes everything.
All right. I'm going to build some sort of lap desk on my kayak so I can do emails in the middle of nowhere.
I know. That's the dream.
Yeah, right. This is perfect office. Hey, got to go. It's raining. Bye. So anyhow, that would be fun. All right. Let's ask another question then. What advice would you give to aspiring artists who want to pursue their passion but are afraid to take up that leap? That happens a lot.
That is a really good question. I think what I mentioned before about finding that community, that is so important. I can't even thank certain people enough for what they were able to offer me. There's a girl who reached out to me on Instagram back in early 2021. This is when I started going from painting in that bullet journal I mentioned to true watercolor paintings.
Cool.
She reached out to me and she said, hey, I think what you got going on here and your mission that you really want to achieve is super cool. She lived out in California. We've never met in person, but we became such good friends because her aspiration was marketing. And she saw me and she was like, I think we can work together because I want to give back to the environment, but I don't really know how to do that. And you don't really know how to market or run a business, and I can help you do that. And then the community built into this small business group that met on Zoom once a week.
I love it.
And we talked about our goals and achievements and our losses and how we learned from them. It was so cool.
Okay. And that reminds me of a group that I was a part of. Some of the photographers aged out and did actually retire, but we met once a year at a hotel. Everybody went out. It wasn't affiliated with anything. We knew each other because of the photo association, but we were spread out. We were far away from each other, and everybody had to share everything, including their numbers, their bottom line. Nobody judged if you were a brand new business and you made $2,000, or somebody that was bringing in $800,000 a year and they had a studio and staff and whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody judged. They helped. And of course, they would have fun and dinner and all of that. But then they got down to business and they had questions that you had to answer. And then they would come up with a plan. So when the 4 days were over, you went home with a plan that was devised by all those other professionals at that table. And you would lock in when you got back and make it happen.
Yeah.
It was so nice to have that support.
That's awesome.
That support from others is, I can't even begin.
Especially a mentorship. I never really actually had that. And that's the one thing that I wish I did, is find somebody who did what I want to do. And they have some kind of a path maybe carved out. A lot of stuff that happens is also serendipitous and can't really be repeated. But still, they can, if some kind of opportunity comes up, they can help you harness that in the right way for success.
Yeah, you're right. And I had a mentor. I interned with him for a full time for a year without pay. And we just did a recording. I pulled him out of retirement and brought him in so that we could, because the whole world knows who he is. He was very successful in the photography world. And they hadn't heard from him in 14 years. He's in his garage making fly fishing ties and woodworking and doing other things. And so I pulled him out, and I can't wait till that one drops. We're editing it now. It's been in the process. Yeah. But he was that way. I mentored for him. He didn't have a big budget, but he taught me everything he knew. And to this day, I still think of everything he said. I'm in 30 years in business now. Yeah. But it's that platform. After my traditional vocational schooling, I did 2 years at a vocational school, learned the art and craft of photography. And then I learned business from my internship. I realized that when I got out of photo school, I was kind of on the top. I'd done well, whatever. But then when I started interning with him, it took me 10 minutes to realize I knew nothing. He was so good at lighting. Light, and you as a painter look at light as well, is beautiful to me. Lighting ratios, the direction of light, lighting colors,
yes,
how to control light as a photographer, mold it and shape it. And one of the tips he told me was, inside the studio, you light the pose. If you're photographing people, you pose them and then you light it. Outside, you pose to the light. And the word photography, it's German, Russian, Greek. It's a combination word. It means to write with light. That's what it stands for. Yeah. So I always tell everybody, you have to not just put your camera on auto mode. You have to learn how it sees light, because it sees it different than we do.
Yes.
And once you learn that, and then learn how to manipulate the camera and the light. So we don't take pictures, we make them. Very similar to you. You don't just, slap some paint on there. Your technique and style and all the things you've learned over these years, you're making that painting. Excuse me. Yeah. So
something that I took a photography class in high school, and I'll never forget. I think it was called a pinhole camera.
Yes.
Yeah. And it just, you allow the light in through a pinhole, and then you had some kind of photography paper. I don't know.
It was
technical name. Yeah.
It was a negative. Yeah.
We went into the dark room and processed it, and we saw our images, and we got to see how different angles of light at certain times of day changed, even if you were looking at the same thing.
I love that. Ansel Adams, you've probably heard this, but he would set up, he had like a little truck camper, believe it or not, a typical photographer. When you study him, I'm like, oh, he's just one of us, but he would set up, put his camera, the large format camera with the negatives. I don't know what size he used, but 8x10, 11x14, they were huge negatives. Bigger the negative, the better quality the prints would be, the more detail and all of that. And he would set up a chair and sometimes sit there 3 or 4 days on the same composition and wait for the light and clouds to be right. Click. And back then the cameras, there was no fanfare like a digital camera. It's just click.
Wow.
Turn the sheet around, put in a new one, click again just in case, and he would pack up and go home.
Wow.
So unlike today in the digital realm, a photographer will go out for the day and take 3,000 or 4,000 images. He would take 2 shots and go home and knew what he had and did. And I try to carry that. Obviously, if it's an event, we take a ton of images because
that's different.
I can't reshoot it the next day. Everybody's gone home. The food's gone. Tuxedos have been returned, whatever. But as far as art goes, I try to be very cautious and not overshoot. Know what I want in advance, really think it out and do that. Besides that, who wants to edit all those images that you may not use?
Yes.
Right.
It's a really similar process with watercolor too. It's a kind of an unforgiving medium. You have to think about where your light is going to be, how it's going to hit your subjects, what you want to keep light, because you're working from light to dark. Because the minute you put that dark paint on there, there's no going back.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
And now you got to either work with it or start over. Right?
Yeah. It's rough.
love
Sometimes you can work with it. Watercolor is so cool where the glazes that you put on top of other things allow you to get such great depth, but sometimes it takes it too far.
Do you use photography? So let's say you're out kayaking and you just see, do you take a photo and then come back and paint from that? It doesn't have to be exactly like that, but kind of a memory.
Yes. So 50% of the time, I would say, I'm out there taking my own photos for more common subjects that you would find, like songbirds, gopher tortoises, animals like that. That's when I do my studies. So more like, we're not really thinking big composition. It's more just getting to know the anatomy of the animal, how the texture of a tortoise's shell looks in certain shadows and things like that.
So you're documenting the turtle shape, size, texture, maybe expression, depending on the animal.
Exactly.
Turtles don't have a lot of expression, but
You'd be surprised.
Yeah,
They have. I just read a book, actually. It's one of my favorite I've ever read by one of my favorite authors, Cy Montgomery. It's called Of Time and Turtles.
oh, cool.
Amazing book.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Oh, to our listeners, get that then. That is sounds. As a matter of fact, I'll get it. In my ADHD way, I think I'll download the audiobook, but I'll still. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. That sounds really cool. I'm so glad you shared that, actually. I had a roommate that had a pet turtle raised in captivity, and he had these turtles from elementary school until way past, and he was a businessman, and he still had these turtles. But we would turn the radio on, music on, not the radio, and this turtle would bob his head in time with the music. He loved it.
I love that.
Yeah, and I thought,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Yeah. There's a guy I follow on TikTok. I'm going to draw a blank, listeners, or I'd tell you who he was. I apologize, but he plays music to animals, goes into zoos and places like that. And if the animals aren't dangerous, he literally sits amongst them. So, it might be a small monkey or whatever, and all of a sudden there's 10 of them, and they're on him and on the guitar and touching the strings.
The guitar player. I know.
You know who it is. Yeah, he plays this really cool. It's a pink guitar. He's I think he's from France.
You should put his information in the details.
I will. I'll put it in the details because every time it comes up, I stop dead in my tracks
Me
and
too.
watch the whole thing.
It's magic.
Yeah, that's awesome. I should just Google it really quick. All right. If you could collaborate with an artist, living or gone, who would it be and what would you create together?
So here's where my answer gets a little obscure. I believe that art, it's not just an extension of painting or sculpture or photography. I think art comes in any kind of creative outlet that extends into just how we express ourselves. And there are 3 people that come to mind that I would have loved to collaborate with. And their art was a little bit more in just the way that they showcased their passion.
Cool.
Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter.
I love it. Okay.
If you don't know who he is, I'm sorry.
I do. I followed him a lot.
Yes. Dr. Jane Goodall, one of my most inspiring people that I actually got to meet her in September 2024, which is incredible.
I love that.
And then Sir David Attenborough.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would love to do some kind of ocean project, some kind of advocacy on a grand scale with him. With Jane Goodall, we would go to Africa and go just be amongst her chimpanzees and just dive into that nature. And then, of course, with Steve, we would do some kind of project where we show the magic and love behind the misunderstood and typically unloved animals like snakes or crocodiles, things like that.
I talk to all of them all the time.
Yeah.
Even if I see a black snake in my bushes, I'm like, hey, buddy, what's going on?
Yep.
Of course, he looks at me, flips his tongue, and takes off. But
Exactly.
it's still pretty cool to see. Steve Irwin fascinated me. Always did. Always has. And his family's still doing conservancy work, and they're still on television and all of that. So they're
amazing.
Still pushing for that. So let's get this podcast to them. Any one of those so that they can hear it, right? And
That would be so cool. I think my heart would beat out of my chest.
So we're kind of at the end. There's a lot of other questions, but gosh, we've covered so much.
Yeah.
We have solved ADHD. We have solved the environmental problems.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know that we solved them, but at least we've talked about it. And of course, we've dove into business. One final business question that I'm just going to come up with off the top of my head is, what do you do other than social media and face-to-face networking? How are you marketing yourself over and above those norms? Tell us something maybe we don't know.
Yeah. So I believe in the power of email networking. So something that I like to do is whenever I'm at an in-person event or even on social media, whatever that is, which can be very saturated, but I will get people to share their information if their story or my story resonates with them or vice versa. I love listening to the stories of people interacting with animals or nature or whatever it is. And so I've built my email list to be pretty substantial. I do a monthly newsletter and I don't like to market with it. What I like to do is just connect with people.
Information.
Yes. Updates or some kind of donation amount that we hit, or even just I do like a showcase of the month where somebody who purchased something, or if an original got purchased and I have a photo with them, we'll showcase them with their permission. It's really cool.
So it's marketing by unmarketing.
Exactly.
Which I agree with.
Yeah.
I don't like these emails that come in that they're just hammering me. That goes right into junk.
Yeah.
More than twice, and I'm like, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
But same for us. We do informational. Email is huge. We're about to reinstitute our email campaign. We do it only once a year, but we're going to change that and make it more newsletter informational.
Awesome.
For the same reason. What are we up to? What's happening? I'm not going to announce it on this podcast, but in January, some cool things are happening at the Imaging USA convention. And so I'll be able to share that. There'll be a huge media release and all of that about it.
Awesome.
So stay tuned for that, listeners. Let's go into the fun part. What do you think? All right.
Yes.
So these are rapid fire questions. I stole these questions. I like to give honor to the people that do it. James Lipton on the Inside the Actors Studio. He was an acting instructor, and he's since passed. But he had a television show, and he would interview very famous people that maybe went through his school, not all of them, and now they're doing it. And then he stole the questions from Bernard Pivot. So I'd just like to give them credit as to do that. So what's your favorite word?
I think I actually said it during this podcast, but serendipitous is my favorite word.
Okay. I knew you were going to go back to that. That's funny. Funny, worked with you a few times.
Yeah.
Like, she's going to say that.
That's what it is.
What's your least favorite word?
Cattywampus.
That's a first.
Yep.
You actually got me on that. That was a legit goofy laugh. Thank you for that. So people use that and you can't stand it.
Up in Michigan, when I heard it, I was like, oh, I got like a chill down my spine.
What is that?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Actually, I'm guilty because the people in my life that are older, parents and grandparents or whatever, that was their word. That was something from their generation. So if you were building something and you were a woodworker and it was off, you would say cattywampus. And I'm going to Google that now and find out where it came from.
Actually?
Yeah, what is that? It's kind of off. Okay, what turns you off in life?
Corporate greed and animal abuse. Yeah,
I'm right there.
Straightforward.
I'm right there with you. That's easy. And you're out to change that with what you're doing. I love that. What turns you on in life?
People who have a passion for something and show it to the world.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Very good. So what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I have attempted quite a few, but I think what I would like to do if I could start over is get into some kind of project management position so that I could then work for an organization to help almost like collaborate on something large scale. I think, just figuring out how that works, the ins and outs.
I love that. Okay. That's a good thing because you can also, if that company's off track environmentally, help create change within it.
Exactly.
If that makes any sense.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's perfect. And now let's do this. Let's ask another question. Here it is. What sound or noise do you love?
I love the sound my cat makes in the morning when I first come out of the bedroom. He's just the cutest little thing ever.
I love that.
Yep.
I love cats. We don't have any anymore. We still have a doggie, but the two cats we had just aged out of life, and we decided at some point it's like, okay, enough cat hair.
Yeah.
As much as I see a million cats that need a home, I would take them in a minute. But I was getting allergy shots twice a month.
That's hard.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, that's enough.
My cat has only child syndrome, so it's a one and done. So
I love that.
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you dislike?
When I'm trying to sleep and there's a ceiling fan that squeaks.
Oh, that's pretty annoying.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
And people with our brains, I have to have
unheard.
white noise and it has to be a steady. It can't be up and down. And
Nope.
Yeah. Or I won't sleep all night. I'll be okay. Thank you.
I don't know if that's a universal thing or an ADHD brain thing, but this is like a podcast about ADHD brain. Low key. It really is.
Yeah. All right. We'll send it to the ADHD Association if there is such a thing. All right. And last question, what profession would you not like to do?
I wouldn't want to be an astronaut. I love Earth so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
You? Yeah. I'm too claustrophobic. I'm not getting in that capsule.
That too.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can scuba dive, but I took a cave diving class because I'm fascinated by the underwater aquifer in Florida.
Yeah.
The Floridian aquifer is how they pronounce it, and the freshwater springs in our state. As a native here, I love that. And so I did it. I did a class. I took a cavern course and then a basic cave class. And you get in there And I mean, there's places where light just doesn't go and your eyes don't adjust. It scared me a little bit, so I don't do it now. But there were fish in there with no eyes because they don't need them. It's the coolest thing. And they have these little mini freshwater flounders that live in the silt and they take off when you're going in. And it's just, there's even life in there. And it's like, wait, why? And how did they get there? And which leads me back to what I talked about earlier. For me, I look at it, I'm like, I don't know. It can't be coincidental.
It's daunting.
Yeah, it is. That subject alone is daunting. Well, listen, thanks for joining us, by the way. And I think that next time you do a big show coming up, maybe we'll drop another podcast, come in, because we have so much more to talk about. I'm sure once we leave with our brains, we'll go, oh, I should have said this. I should have said that.
Yep.
Yeah, I do it all the time. All right, listeners, listen, guys, I'm so glad you're here, all of you. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Camera Dude podcast. Remember, success is a journey of art, business, and purpose. Stay inspired, stay humble, and always look up for your directions in life.
Thanks for tuning in to the Camera Dude Podcast. Don't forget to visit us at cameradudepodcast.com for more episodes and exclusive content. Connect with Rob Moorman on moormanphoto.com to explore his professional photography. And when you're ready to hit the road, make memories at sunburstrvresort.com. Until next time, keep capturing moments and chasing dreams. See you on the next episode of the Camera Dude Podcast.